In this episode, Sam Goulden dives into his journey from casual golfer to college golfer to pro coach and golf entrepreneur. He shares his early love for the game, his leap into coaching, and the story behind creating Minimal Golf. Sam talks about the innovative approach to designing a modern golf bag, the ups and downs of launching on Kickstarter, and the importance of persistence. He also highlights the role of community and personal growth in his company and his plans for the future of Minimal Golf. Enjoy the episode. Welcome to The Range, the podcast where we explore the intersection of passion and business in the world of golf. I'm your host, Ari Ratner, and each episode will dive into the stories of the innovators, entrepreneurs, and trailblazers who are transforming the game we love into thriving businesses. Whether you're a golf enthusiast, an inspiring entrepreneur, or just curious about the business behind the sport, you're in the right place. So grab your clubs and join us on The Range as we tee off into the world of golf entrepreneurship. Hey everybody, we are back on episode 2 of The Range with Sam Goulden, entrepreneur, a golf coach, former professional golfer, among other things. Sam, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Ari. Happy to be on with you. Since we first spoke, I've been looking forward to this. So excited to finally be getting on this call.
Awesome. Well, to give the audience a sense of your background, would love to give yourself time to introduce, your connection to golf, the foundation of Minimal Golf and what you're doing to impact the golf industry.
Wow. That's like a really big ask, Ari. I could go as deep into detail as needed, but really I didn't have a traditional introduction to golf. My family, kind of like my grandparents played and my aunts and uncles, but where I grew up with my mom and dad and my sister, golf just wasn't really on the menu. And I did have some tiny little memories from when I was really young when we would visit the family back in Nebraska where I was born and playing golf with my uncles and grandparents. But it just so long ago. And then I didn't really play until high school and played a couple times with friends then. And then my senior year in high school, actually, we were getting a golf team at my school. There was a kid who was a really good player, but there was no golf team at our high school. And so his grandpa, kind of seeing that his grandson needed a golf team to compete on to get into a good college to play competitively, he funded a high school golf team. And so I was like, I'll get on that. I wasn't really good enough, honestly, to get on. I grinded really hard for a couple weeks leading up to tryouts, and I was a senior already. So it was if I don't make it here, I'm not going to make it. But kind of convinced the coach that I felt like I could be a part of the team if he gave me a little bit longer than just a tryout window. And he let me on the team. I think I played in the 5th spot, either the 4th or 5th spot on the team. We had 5 players, so not a standout by any means. And then, after high school, I, had no dreams of playing in college, but I got super addicted to it. There was a golf course that opened in my hometown right after high school for me, and I got a job there, and I hit balls every single day. Yeah, a couple of years passed actually from me graduating. Maybe 1 year passed from me graduating, and then the kid whose grandpa started this golf team, he had gone off and played college golf, and he came back one summer, and so I guess it'd been a few years since I graduated. He came back one summer and we played together, and I had gotten quite a bit better. Still didn't think I was any good, but he told me that they didn't really have a 5 guy on their team. In college golf, you have typically 4 scorers will be out of 5 players on the smaller schools, at least. And so, he was like, dude, you're a lot better. I bet you could play on our team. We could use somebody who can break 80 in a tournament. And so I was like, well, dude, I'm shooting even par. I'm for sure going to break 80. Flash forward to my first tournament, I shoot 91.87. So I had a very rude awakening.
That's a pretty quick ascension, right? From not really playing to making your high school team to then eventually playing college. Talk about how then that evolved into you coaching.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I didn't know what was going on. It was fully just this. I would say early on it was an addiction. It was an obsession. I think I later became more enamored with golf, but in the very beginning, it was for sure just an obsession. I just really, really couldn't handle not being good. And I just practice and read all the books I could read. This is like pre-YouTube and stuff. And so, yeah, coming out of high school, I did okay, got into high school golf and shot 42 on a par 32 course. That was my best score for the year. And then in college, like I barely broke 80, on occasion. And so coming out of college, it just didn't make any sense for me to even have dreams of playing professional golf. So continued to want to improve. And I'd also gone to college thinking like I got in the scholarship to play college golf. And I thought, okay, I want to be a high school teacher. Like I wanted to teach high school anything. I just really thought that was my path. And so while in college and taking classes to become an education major, I realized how freaking hard that is. And how, you have to keep going. You have to get a master's degree and the pay is pretty bad. And I was just like, man, I love to coach. I love to teach. Why not just teach golf and make $80 an hour like the head pro back in Washington, Missouri versus, what nets out to probably $20 an hour if you're a high school teacher in the Midwest. So that's how it was just like, I love this game. I love learning. I love teaching. Let's do this. Let's be a golf coach.
And we'll get into kind of how you started Minimal Golf, and I don't want to jump ahead, but talk a little bit about how you started to build the coaching business and if there are any parallels to what you've done to start to build the Minimal Golf business.
That's interesting. I almost always like breeze past my coaching life.
Yeah.
And try to get straight into minimal, I guess because it's so current to me. But for a very solid chunk of my life, for like 8, 9, 10 years, it was very important to me that I become as successful of a golf coach as I could be. And I remember like the GM at Wolf Hollow Golf Club, that's where I got my first job in golf. He said to me one day, we were driving to a teaching seminar back in like 2003 or 4 or something. And he said, it was a PGA teaching seminar. And he's like, Sam, you could be PGA Teacher of the Year someday. And I was like, whoa, like, really? You think so? And then it just like, this guy had so much influence on me. He was the highest up guy I knew in golf. And for him to say that to me, I was just like, holy crap, like maybe I could be. And so I just was like, that's what I'm going for now. So I coached and I went to all the teaching seminars. And as I started improving and started thinking of competing on my own, I was kind of in parallel or in tandem creating this coaching business that eventually became Sam Goulden Golf. Really early on in like the YouTube world, like 2009 is when I moved to California to start playing full time, moved to California from St. Louis. And about that time, YouTube was like very much in its infancy when it comes to golf instruction. There were like 3-4 guys, like 7-1, who's Mike Maves in Canada. There's just very few people on YouTube coaching golf. So I moved to California and I'm still teaching and now trying to compete and play on mini tours and things like that. And a kid I was next to, I was teaching lessons in this indoor studio in Santa Monica, and this kid and the simulator next to me, he's like, dude, you should make YouTube videos. And he was like overhearing my lesson. And I was like, I'm not going to make YouTube. I'm nobody.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, have you heard of 7-1? And I was like, yeah, Mike Maves, Mo Norman, Ben Hogan guy from Canada. Like, love him. Favorite guy on YouTube. He's like, I'm helping him build a business off of his YouTube channel. And I was like, what? You're connected to them? These are like the guys? And so, yeah, because Jimmy was like, dude, you should make YouTube videos. And he was helping Mike Maves. I was like, kind of again, like somebody with influence who I trusted. I was like, all right, let me get into that. And so, yeah, started making YouTube videos just like randomly. And then I kind of like fell into this square to square swing set and like style of coaching. And it was really, really good, man. It was like I was getting really good. Like I made 3 holes in one in 41 days. Like I hadn't made a hole in one in 10 years. I made 1 hole in one for 10 years. And then I made 3 in 41 days. And I was just like, this is a thing. This is what's going to blow up my YouTube channel. And it did.
Yeah.
So yeah, those videos went crazy. Back then, 200,000 views was crazy.
Yeah.
But, those square to square swing videos went pretty crazy. And then I was teaching clinics all over the country while traveling to try to play competitive mini tour golf, and also Monday qualifiers and stuff. But yeah, so I'm traveling the country and I'm doing clinics now because I've got like a big enough name that I can draw, lessons in. I'd also written like 3 ebooks in this time, sort of the Jimmy Nissen guide, like make a YouTube video, find the one that pops off. And once you have one of those, then you can write an ebook about it. So that's what I did. I made wrote a few ebooks. So I had all these email addresses of people who had trusted me with my swing and stuff, or with their swing. So I'm traveling. I'm in Atlanta. I'm teaching a clinic for like $500 per player for the day. And this kid's like, hey man, you should do a website. You should have a website where you put all this stuff. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And he was like, I do. If you teach me for free, I'll set you up. And so this kid, Andrew, was like, he set me up, man. He built the thing for me and we worked together and I created course after course for like 3 years. That was my income. So yeah, that's how Sam Goulden Golf evolved from small town teaching pro at a public course in Washington, Missouri to a passive income retired surf bum in Puerto Rico, over a 10-year period.
It seems like a fair trade also to build a website and get free golf lessons.
I think it's kind of good, right? I mean, like for him, I think it ended up being like probably I definitely got the higher value out of that. Yeah.
So let's transition to Minimal. You built a somewhat of a personal brand in the golf space, certainly revenue generating business with the coaching. What was the aha moment for the Minimal brand and the introduction of that to the golf world?
For me, it was more of like having built that golf instruction platform that gave me the freedom to do pretty much whatever I wanted. Now, I'm not saying I was like a millionaire. I wasn't, but I'd stopped competing full time and I had this website that just made money every day without me really doing anything. And that ended up kind of being a curse. Like I didn't work at all. I didn't teach much golf. I didn't play any golf. I was trying to stay motivated. Like I wanted to become a good surfer at that point in my life. That's like was my new passion, but it wasn't enough to like keep me motivated every day. So I was getting like super bored, just like drinking too much wine and not waking up early. And that over like an 18-month period, it just kind of like occurred to me that my unhappiness was rooted in the fact that I didn't have a passion. And, I was doing a bunch of stuff. I was like working every single day on the things that I believed I needed to do in order to stay happy. Mm-hmm. I had like a list every morning, like make your bed and turn on music and make coffee, go get exercise and have a good conversation with somebody you love, doing all these things. But like this big chunk of my meaning, purpose on life was just not there. Mm-hmm. And I had it all as a professional golfer, even though I wasn't maybe as successful as I had planned on being. I had that daily pursuit. So knowing this and having moved back to LA in 2018, kind of part-time, I had been living in Puerto Rico, again, just like drinking too much red wine and trying to learn how to surf. And so there was a huge hurricane at the end of 2017 and I moved back to LA for like the time being just to kind of like wait till the power came back on in Puerto Rico. And while I was in LA, I was coaching this guy and I was talking to him about a bag idea. And he was like, I think that would work. And I was like, really? And again, sort of somebody who knew business. He was he still is the head of the head of the distressed debt division of a very large financial company. Mm-hmm. So he understood what caused businesses to fail and then how to invest in them for them to succeed. Mm-hmm. So when he said, Sam, I think this business idea is a good idea, I was like, well, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Going back kind of like the Doug Warden GM of Wolf Hollow Golf saying you could be a great teacher. It was just like, okay, if he believes in that, then I might as well too. And then at the same, I'm in LA and I'm like planning on going back to Puerto Rico and just didn't really know what I was going to do at all, but I knew I wanted to find passion in my life. And I took this surf trip to Bali in like July of 2018, I think. Yeah. And while I was there, I found the name. Like I'd already thought of the idea of the bag, but I had terrible names for it. They were so dumb. They were like birdie bag or like, they were just so corny. I just couldn't. And I like really needed a name in order for this to work. And so I was there in Bali and I saw this sticker on this wall and it kind of was in like Russian writing, but it stuck out to me and said minimal, MNML. And I was like, that's it, minimal golf. And so I was like, that's my sign. I booked a flight the next day, went back to LA. I rented a space a day later, like block away from where I was staying. And yeah, just really went full on into figuring out how golf bags are made and how to start a business.
Yeah, go if you don't mind, go back a little bit, and where did the idea germinate from in terms of a new golf bag, right? Because as we talked about, I think in our first conversation, the equipment industry in golf is really led by only a few brands. So, jumping into a category where you would be the underdog, and to your point, you didn't have a lot of experience or any experience in the space. Like, where did the idea come?
Okay, so I'm pretty naive, I think, in general. I'm also way too optimistic, but it hasn't hurt me yet. Let's hope it doesn't. But like, I remember talking to people and they'd be like, you're going to make a golf bag. Like, I haven't bought a golf bag in 12 years. I haven't bought a golf bag since high school. Like, how many golf bags are even bought in a year? And I was like, first of all, that's because they all suck. Like, flat out, golf bags had a job to do for 100 years and they did it, and that was fine. And if you had one, you were good. No one was buying golf bags because they were cool, because they were innovative, because they solved problems, no one was buying a new bag because there just wasn't a good option. So this is 2018, and that was the case back then. So I was like, that will change. Don't worry. And the reason I believe that would change is because having been a coach, a teaching pro, and having been, like I didn't mention in this conversation that I had a big hand in the direction that 18 Birdies golf app went. I know the CEO very well. I consult for 18 Birdies often. And I did a lot of research in 2015, 14 about like what's going on in golf. And I kind of knew it anyway as a coach and as a youngish person at the time. But a lot of the research I was doing was about the phone and how people are using their phones in golf, because 18 Birdies is an app on a phone and it's a golf app. So I like had this in my head already that like I knew that people were using phones on the golf course more. I knew why they were using them, for GPS and to listen to music. I knew all of this stuff was trending in that direction. And so it just was so obvious to me, like a bag with modern features, like integrate the phone, almost like there was like a travel bag called a smart bag back then. I think called it a smart bag. And it was kind of like, yeah, it's like a smart golf bag. It's like you can plug your phone in and charge it. You can film your swing. You can listen to music. We're just integrating this thing that we have in our hand now with our golf game. And I was sure that that would be great. And I remember too, like somebody said to me, this podcast, I think it was the 18 Strong podcast, really, really long time ago. He was like, Sam, what makes you think you can like succeed in this world of Titleists and Callaways and Sun Mountains? And I was like, dude, I was trying to win the US Open. Like that is the hardest thing I can think of in the world. You can't convince me that making the best golf bag is harder than that.
Yeah.
So again, very naive, because making a phenomenal golf bag, I'm still on like version, I mean, in real terms, probably like the 15th model, but we rename every time we make like a small tweak to the bag. But man, every single model we come out with, I'm like, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. And I literally emailed the factory. So I've become friends with the owner of the factory who makes our golf bags. He's in Singapore. They have a factory in China and a factory in Indonesia. And I emailed him about 4 days ago, maybe a week ago. And I was like, Clarence, I want to make a golf bag that will last and have utility for 500 years. And I've been saying this and believing it for a while, because the golf bag itself has a bunch of plastic on it. And we use recycled material, which I think is awesome. But ultimately, this thing is going to be around on the planet a lot longer than it's going to have utility. So for me, it was like, how can I make a golf bag that has utility as long as it's around on the planet? And so I asked Clarence, like, I was like, we'll need to like gold plate all of the buckles so they could never corrode. We can't use plastic fittings anywhere. We have to use metal or gold plated. And yeah, he like wrote me back and he was like, I love this as a concept. It's like an actually usable bag. And I was like, I don't care. Let's figure out what it would take and let's make one. Because yeah, at the end of the day, I think that would be the best golf bag that ever existed. One that could have utility for 500 years.
So in terms of going from, let's call it the back of the napkin idea in your head to where you are today, just talk through a little bit about the steps that that it took to go from idea to prototype to finished bag to start selling to an audience and getting in front of that audience?
I didn't know any of those answers. I thought I had an idea. I had a plan for sure. It was kind of like back of the napkin kind of plan. I thought anybody could manufacture a golf bag. I thought find a toy factory or whatever. I thought digital marketing would be a really good move. And I thought, yeah. So those were kind of the two things. It was like, well, anybody could make a golf bag. I'll just send them a design and they'll make it. But I found out like pretty early on, that's crazy because there are factories in China and in Indonesia where our bag is made in Indonesia that they specialize in this. They've been making golf bags for 40 years, 30 years. Mm-hmm. They don't make dumb mistakes because they've made them, they made them 40 years ago or whatever. And so when I found out that there's literally like, I don't know the exact number, but I think there are 4 main factories. So we're talking like the Vessels and the Ghosts and the Minimal and Titleist, and the best golf bags on the market are made in these 4 main factories. It could be more than that, but let's just say That's what was told to me at the time. And so I was like, oh, okay, so we have to be in one of these factories. And this guy, I got introduced to this guy who knew a guy, and that guy introduced me to the US like headquarters that it's like an intermediary between a US business and a factory in Asia. And I had a meeting with them and I was like, yeah, I want to make 400 golf bags. And they were like, we do like 1,000 as like a minimum order. There's no way we can do 40.
Right.
So for some reason, I think because we were making a bag that was unique and new and had all these kind of interesting, cool features, I think that's why they agreed to like take a chance on us. Mm-hmm. Because yeah, realistically, they shouldn't have let us make 400 bags. It's too small of a number.
Yeah.
So, but they did. They let us make 400 bags. I did a Kickstarter. I did a lot of research on Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding campaign website. I found out that like Kickstarters are successful because of the people who run them, not because of the product usually. Mm. I thought you just put a great product on Kickstarter. They help you advertise it. They give you a little bit of credibility since you're like on this site, and they take, I think, 5% or something. But the reality is I went through every single contact in my phone. Literally, like at the time, I think it was around 1,200 names, phone numbers, and email addresses I had on a spreadsheet. That was my job for like 60 days. Mm-hmm. Text, email, call every single person in my contact list. Ask them, do you golf? Have you golfed lately? I'm starting this thing. Can I count on you to contribute by buying a hat, sweatshirt, or a golf bag possibly? And then I put a check mark in the column next to hat, sweatshirt, or golf bag. And then I followed up. And then I followed up again. And then I followed up again like 3 days before the launch. And then I followed up again the day before the launch. And then the day of the launch, I was like, it's live. Can you please contribute? And so we made the goal was to raise $50,000, and we raised 10,500 or something the first day. Mm-hmm. And I was like, it's on.
Yeah.
Then for like 20 something days, it was like a little money here, a little money there. But finally on the last day, I think there was like $8,000 left. And I did the thing where I texted literally everybody on the spreadsheet who hadn't contributed yet. And yeah, I just did everything. I like went on YouTube and I was like, how to have a successful Kickstarter campaign. And I watched all the videos and they were all like, text everybody you know, email them, follow up, throw a party, like a launch party, did all that stuff. And eventually the day came, we hit $53,000, got the $49,000 after Kickstarter took their money and paid the factory. And they shipped 7 months later, they shipped 400 bags. And then 200 of them were spoken for through the Kickstarter campaign. So on December 31st, 2019, I received 400 golf bags and then stuffed them all into this little 800 square foot space. Then took them out, put Bluetooth speakers and power banks on them, actually like charged all the power banks, charged all the speakers, then put them all together, put them back in the boxes, put shipping labels on them. And dude, spent way too much. I think I spent like $65 a bag in shipping. Yeah. Which now we don't make money on shipping, but like our shipping rate's gone down so much because I've learned how that world works. But yeah, I think our average shipping cost is around $28 a bag. But I was spending like 60 on those first bags. Like I definitely didn't make any money on the first bags.
Yeah.
Just sort of like broke even and ordered 300 more, and 318 fit in a half a container. So that's how many I ordered to replenish. And then another 318. And then no money, no advertising, no social media, me basically by myself now. The people who were like a part of the team in the beginning, kind of like one went off and got like a very busy job, so couldn't really contribute. The other one just wasn't in a space to continue to contribute. And then somebody else kind of just like left. And so I was like, all right, it's me now trying to figure this out. And I just kind of got lucky, I guess. Like a guy who lived in my neighborhood in Manhattan Beach brought the newest guy from Golf Magazine by to see the bag. And then there was a writer from Golf Week. And then there were just a bunch of people who were like, this is cool. This is new. And we got some press. And then that press led to some sales. And then like 3 years in a row of sort of like steady growth. So really, I would say like, people would be like, how are you doing this, Sam? And I was like, just doing everything. I don't know, make a good bag, go buy it. Like, what's so hard about this? You know?
Yeah. Well,
now, yeah.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say now looking back, it's like, dang, yeah, everybody who's been a part of Minimal at those times and now, we're doing the right things, but just like not knowing, like unknowingly doing the right things. And so when it was time to like grow, where it was like, okay, cool, here we are. And now I've expected this growth for next year. How are we going to grow? Then it was like, well, just do more. We should just grow, keep doing the same thing we were doing. But I didn't really know what we were doing that was contributing to the success. It was just like, it was just working. And that's been a 2-year process to learn what contributes to the growth of this company.
Yeah, it's one of the things I hope to do with the podcast is help other entrepreneurs, specifically in the golf space, but also outside, just learn from others. And I think hearing different traits of successful entrepreneurs at all different levels, I think is helpful. And one trait that I keep hearing through your stories is determination. But would love to kind of hear your perspective around determination when it comes to business. And then also from your perspective, what's like your superpower in this golf business?
Okay. When it comes to determination, I feel like golf in itself is such a perfect like training ground. And the other sports do it too, but I think golf just maybe perfectly trains you to like teaches you determination, because no one can teach you how to play good golf. Like you can't be taught how to play good golf. You absolutely have to learn it. And that's through countless trials and errors and trials and errors. And like, yeah, you might watch a YouTube video or you might take a lesson and there's this contribution to your knowledge. But at the end of the day, you've got to learn how you're going to be successful in that game. And for me, I think I was really fortunate to find skateboarding first because it's very similar, and then golf. And then I started playing pool at a point in my life. And these things like these games that teach you or help you understand that like you can get good at anything. You can be great at anything, but it just like you have to keep practicing essentially and learning. Yeah. And it's a really long road. And through golf, I learned how to accept failure. There's a point in my life where I learned how to accept failure. I never threw another club. I never I would get mad at myself for like not focusing enough to hit.
Sure.
But yeah, my attitude on the golf course completely changed when I learned how to accept failure. And I think that's kind of like maybe like the yang to determination's yin.
Yeah.
It's as determined as you are, if you can't accept failure, you're going to just beat yourself up constantly. And so, yeah, I think I learned determination and acceptance of failure through golf primarily.
Yeah.
What was the other question?
Like what you would consider your superpower in the business?
First, I'm very confident my superpower is just the experience of having been not in need of a job. Like knowing that I wasn't any happier. In a lot of ways, I was a lot less happier when I was free of work, and knowing that I choose this, like I want to be here. I'm doing this job. I was talking to Rob last night, who's the general manager of our clubs, the one in Redondo Beach and the other one in Pasadena.
Which I do want to touch on. We could touch on after you answer this.
So Rob, I was talking to Rob last night, and it's been a challenge. We opened a new club 3 months ago. We weren't planning on it. So now we've got Redondo Beach and Pasadena. Like right when Redondo Beach was like cash flow positive, we fell into this other location and we were just like, we got to do it. We have to do it. So we opened another one, and that one's a huge challenge. And so I told Rob last night, I was like, hey man, listen, I want you to know that minimal is, we're doing this. I'm doing this. We are doing minimal so that we can love what we do every day. So we can be passionate about getting up and going to work every day. We're not doing, like, if you wanted healthcare and 401k and all the benefits, like, you have a degree, go get a corporate job. It's probably not going to be as fun as this. But I want you to know that every single day, I want you, me, Campbell, and everybody who works at Minimal, I want us all to wake up excited to do this job. That's why we're doing it, so that we have this avenue or this like way to enjoy our life through our work. For me, the clarity that I could have this online golf instruction business, and I could probably just feed that beast forever, because I think forever golfers will want to get better. And like, I could just keep doing that, but it didn't. In doing that, I freed myself from having a passion, essentially. And so knowing that I need a thing that I want to be passionate about every day makes me really excited to do minimal golf every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Talk a little bit about the minimal ecosystem, right? Because, we talked a little bit about the bags, but obviously, as you just mentioned, you have 2 clubs, both in beautiful areas with probably a good amount of traffic walking by. Tell the audience about what those clubs entail and why the physical space in addition to physical products of bag.
Why we kind of backed into, but what really is just like, it's just the coolest thing I can imagine, really. So our space in Redondo Beach, like, I'll go backwards to the why. I was in a really small space in Manhattan Beach, 800 square feet. I had a golf simulator, and I had determined that it made sense to put a mini ramp in that space. So it was literally like a mini ramp, so a skate ramp, and a golf simulator. And the golf simulator allowed me to teach lessons to make money, so I didn't have to rely on minimal, especially early on when I knew that was like risky. Mm-hmm. So I taught lessons and skated the little mini ramp in the little studio. And then somebody bought that building to like tear it down and build it up again in some mansion in Manhattan Beach, like every other building. Anyway, so somebody bought the place, and so I lost like this really cool little neighborhood vibe and everything. But at the same time, it forced me to go find another location, and I found a place that was 5 times bigger. And I was just like, yeah, okay, this could definitely work. Put some golf simulators here. Obviously, bring the ramp. Like, can't get rid of the ramp. And then we'll have an artist studio in the back, so we can do all that hand-painted customization here in house. We can have a pool table, because I love playing pool, and we can have a surfboard, and we could even have some retail and a coffee bar. Wouldn't it be sick if we had a latte espresso bar? So yeah, just like found this location in kind of mid-COVID 2021, got a really good price on it. It upped my rent by 2.5 times, but it like, putting in the golf simulators and having a membership sort of like fund the space along with Minimal Golf, this direct to consumer business that could afford to had to pay somewhere, to store bags and things like that. Those 2 businesses together paid the rent. And, so the why was like, well, the old building was gone. We need a new one. And then, wow, what an amazing location right by the water in Redondo Beach, right by the pier. And then it was just like, okay, now how are we going to make money here or make this just break even? It's like, okay, golf simulators, some retail, coffee bar. The ramp really doesn't make us any money, but it's cool. It keeps you happy. It keeps us happy. And it also just like lends itself to say like who we are in this golf space. It doesn't mean we're skaters, all of us, but it just means like we aren't, it kind of says who we're not for sure. Yeah. And so I think that's helpful. And then Pasadena, it just happened. There was a business going out of business, a golf simulator studio going out of business. The guy had decided to move on, and we were going to buy their equipment because it was really good stuff. And same stuff we use, Unicore launch monitors, which I think are the best indoor launch monitors for the money for sure. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's help this guy out. We'll buy his stuff. We'll put one up in our space. So we'll have another one and then we'll sell the other one and break even or whatever. And then we all went over there as a team with like ladders and screwdrivers and stuff. And we walked in the door and we're just like, we can't take this apart. Like we just, like this, it was, man, if you could imagine like any golfer in the world would have walked in there and been like, you can't unhook this. Like you can't take this out of this neighborhood. It just, like the other guy, for whatever reason, it didn't work for him, but it needed to be there. Like it was just a perfect thing for the neighborhood. And so I asked Rob at the time, I was like, dude, you want this? It can be yours. You can run this thing. You can set it up. You can get it going. But I need you to say like, if you want it, because I don't need to run another golf simulator studio. I need to try to sell golf bags. And he was like, he's like, well, you're the boss. You got to make that decision. And I was like, I'm not going to be accountable for it. I was like, I got your back, Rob. You want it. I got your back. I'll support you. We'll find a way to make it work no matter what. But you're going to be the one to be accountable for it. And he was like, I got to decide right now. And I was like, yeah. So we did it. We just, we got in for very, very cheap. And the rent's not very much money. It's just a great place for the neighborhood. 2 golf simulators, a little bit of our retail. We do a bunch of little social hangs there. There's a couple colleges nearby. It's just like an awesome little business for that neighborhood in Pasadena.
It's interesting because, you know, it sounds a little bit like things have come full circle in you leaning on mentors to build your coaching business, to build the bag business. And now with Rob, him leaning on you to help kind of achieve some of his passion points as well. So that's got to make you feel good.
You know, it's funny. I knew this about myself, but I had never like written it down or been told. But we as a team we have this employee, Bryce, who is a really good kid and we all love him. And I was like, we need to figure out what Bryce's superpower is, because we had him doing some stuff and he was kind of okay at it, but he wasn't like thriving. And I was like, okay, let's all take personality tests. And so we found this online, like my work personality or something. And we all took these personality tests and everybody learned a lot about each other. Mine literally said, like, the thing that I get the most joy out of is helping others be their best. And I was like, that makes so much sense. I've been a golf teacher my whole life. Like, that's what I thrive on. That's what I love doing. And so when it came down to like that situation with Rob or like anybody in our business, it's like, yeah, I want everybody to like raise up to the level that they're capable of achieving. And that's just, I guess, kind of like whatever, for whatever reason, that's innate in me. And so that's the way our business is. We have no senior executives. We never will. We'll never bring anybody in who's better than who's already in, because in my head, it's like a training ground for development. So yeah, that's at least how I view it. It's why everybody who works for Minimal is pretty young, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. And I'm also willing to accept that everybody's going to make a ton of mistakes, including myself, because none of us have done this before. Yeah, that's kind of that's what Minimal is on the inside. It's just a bunch of people trying to become their best at what they do.
That's awesome. You know, as we close up the podcast, a few more questions, but on that note, in terms of what Minimal is inside, just give the audience and listeners a sense of what it is on the outside. Obviously, we know the bags, we know, the physical locations, but what do you intend Minimal to become in the near future and beyond?
Personally, passionately, I just want to make the best golf bag ever made. So that's the bag that lasts 500 years and is interchangeable. So if any part on it broke, it could be replaced. As a surfer and a golfer, I spend all of my time in nature. Like when I'm not looking at this screen, we were just surfing this morning here in Puerto Rico. Every single day I'm in the water, and if I'm not surfing, we're golfing. And if not golfing, then looking at people like you on my computer. So I spend all this time in nature, and I want Minimal Golf, the bag company, to be a positive force in nature. And I know that that is a really common thread right now in every industry, especially in other markets like Europe and Asia. But I just want to be a part of that trend of doing better things for the planet. Our motto, for the player, for the planet, is to make golf products that aren't being made, that like need an innovation. And that can be in the product itself, in its just like if you think about a golf bag, the last innovation was the backpack strap. And that was like 25 years ago or 30 years ago or something. So like golf bag needed some innovation, and it needed, it needed improvements. It needed longevity and those things like that. So that's good for the player, the innovative side, and it's good for the planet, and that we're using recycled materials and trying to make a bag that will last much longer. And then like kind of what we won't do is we won't make anything that doesn't need to be made. Meaning like, like we don't make t-shirts because there are great t-shirts out there. We may collab with a t-shirt company who has a similar mission to us, but we Minimal don't need to make t-shirts. They exist already. Great, eco-friendly, high-quality t-shirts exist already. But like our next project, we're working on a pair of shoes with this company, Community Made, and we're making a pair of shoes that are very, very geared toward the player, but also are so connected to nature in that the sole of the shoe is actually made of rubber from a rubber tree farm in France to a mold that is now the bottom of your shoe. Like we used to use rubber for shoes, and then now everybody's using plastic, but rubber is incredible, man. It comes out of a tree. It's the most renewable resource ever, right? And rubber, when you wear a rubber sole, it's so cool, man. Like you put your foot in this shoe and then you can feel the ground under you. So it's super thin sole, thin insole, also made from recycled material, plant-based, single piece of plant-based leather as an upper, or a really high quality leather as an upper. So the shoe is extremely minimalist in design, but it's made with materials that are going to last really long or are from renewable materials like rubber. We can resole the shoe if the rubber wears out. And then, just trying to make products that are better for the player, better for the planet, and not making anything that doesn't need to be made.
Yeah. When could fans expect the shoe?
As soon as this rubber shoe factory in France approves us, we literally have to like tell them why they should make shoes with us. They're not, I think they might have a golf sole somewhere, but they're like, they don't know us. So we have to convince them to make a small batch of these soles for us because we can't order 20,000 pairs of shoes or whatever. So, but I'm pretty confident we can convince them that they should work with us, and Community Made is on our side. They're handmade shoes in downtown LA. Got a great history. So if everything goes well, we will have like a constructed sample with a rubber outsole October 10th. Maybe for holiday, we'll have like shoes ready to order. If not, early 2025.
Super exciting. Prior to closing up, would love to just ask some rapid fire golf questions just to give the audience a sense of you and some of your favorite things around the sport, if that's all right.
Okay.
All right. First up, what's your favorite golf course to play on?
My favorite golf course in the world is hands down Royal Isabella in Isabella, Puerto Rico. It's you gotta look it up. Just look up Royal Isabella, watch the YouTube video. Mind blowing place.
The driver or putter? Which club do you trust the most?
Man, when I was competing, neither were as strong as they are right now. Right now, my driver is incredibly good. So I guess right now, driver.
What's the most memorable round of golf you've ever played?
I mean, I would probably say the last. One of the most recent ones, my girlfriend, Nicole Campbell, who's been with Minimal since like the very beginning. We walked 9 holes at Alondra Park, which is like a shitty muni in LA. But it was super fun. And those are, to me, like it's the people that you're at this point in my life. It's the people you're with that make it the most fun.
What's your go-to snack or drink on the course?
It's always water with like an element pack. I bring my bottle and then I dump a element pack in there. Snack, I like don't really think too much about it, but I do love that the golf course has these storied snacks like hot dogs and stuff. Like if I'm gonna go, I almost never eat food that's bad for me like that, but that's like a little kind of like forgiveness place where it's like, oh well, I did walk, so I could have a hot dog with some relish and some mustard. So
right.
I guess we'll go with that.
Lastly, what's your dream golf destination that you haven't played yet?
Honestly, there's some amazing places, but for me, golf's never been about the destination. It was always about just doing my absolute best. And now it's that plus the people I'm with. So Yeah, I would say I just love playing golf with our team, minimal, the whole minimal team we have, and pretty much anywhere would be fun.
Well, hopefully I'll be able to join you out in LA at some point and play around with you. Would be a lot of fun. Appreciate the time, Sam. Would love to just give you a chance to tell the listeners where they could find you online, where they could find Minimal, and give you a chance to just rep your brand a bit.
Yeah, minimalgolf.com, just like it sounds. On Instagram, probably our second most largest platform is MNML Golf. And those are kind of it. Minimalgolf.com and Minimal Golf on Instagram, and everywhere else you could probably find us, but our heaviest places where we're going to give you the most are going to be Instagram and our website.
Awesome. Well, Sam, truly appreciate it. Enjoyed the conversation, and look forward to publishing this episode and getting it out to the world.
Sweet. Thanks, Ari. It's been really fun.
All right. Take care.